Welcome to this societal chat, the favorite hour of my of every month. And today we're going to have fun learning from Prashant Mehra. And so let me begin by introducing Prashant. His passion is socioeconomic inclusion. Um, he was the Social Entrepreneur of the Year 2020, the Schwab Foundation Award. So congratulations again, Prashant. There's a very interesting background which we'll learn more about as we go along. But as we speak, he's building the platform Commons. Essentially, the idea here is interconnected public platform or commons for agriculture, education, civic engagement. So it's really a global infrastructure as commons for multiple things. Of course, his background is strategy, consulting, program management. He has run consulting operations in UK, Europe. Mindtree is an organization that he has spent a lot of time. He used to head social inclusion. So welcome, Prashant. What I would really love to begin with is I have always been fascinated by how you began all of this
Hmm.
journey as a rag picker, those
Hmm.
days,
Hmm.
right? So tell us something about where it all began and how you got this idea. How did you land up with this whole platform thing, if you will,
Hmm.
from roaming the streets? So tell us about the beginning of the journey.
This whole thing started sometime in 2008 when I used to. Then I headed Mindtree's platform engineering vertical and ran that out of London. And I was doing a fairly large build out, $150 million build out for a single platform. One fine day, this whole thought hit me. What am I doing with my talent? And the answer could have been anything. The answer was, I'm helping the rich get richer. These were the exact phrase that came back. That was very, very difficult to live with. And I didn't know what to do with it. That eventually led to a sabbatical. So I took a 2 year sabbatical. So a few days later, I landed up in Delhi. With the only thing I knew really was that I want to work in rural India. I didn't know agriculture. I didn't know what sector. And I didn't even know if I had the skills to do anything. So, so because as you said, all I had done was consulting and program management and technical platform architecture and things like that. I said the one thing I do well is a 3 week discovery. So that's what you have been taught. Go to a customer CXO office in 3 weeks. You have to figure out and tell them what to do. So I said I give myself 3 weeks in this village, and I'll do a broad-based discovery. And in 3 weeks, a 2x2 matrix emerged with 16 project ideas and 16 work groups in the village who were willing to partner on those project ideas. And it was obvious that it had to be agriculture. The fact that farmers already were investing large amount of capital. So about $100 billion annually is what farmers invest in growing the crops they grow. I told myself that you're not working in a resource starved situation. You are in a resource surplus situation. You have people who have $100 billion of working capital, and they're making it work. So 2 years later, I had managed to make an income impact of a factor of 4. So we had 4 times income impact. I started working with 5 landless labor. And by end of year 2, we were 700. We were spread across 5 villages. One of those 5 villages was about 300 kilometers south of the village I was working in. So the word had spread. So I reached out to my then boss at Mindtree, a gentleman called Shubroto Bagchi. I said, I am craving the city life. I want to sleep in an AC. I want to eat KFC chicken and drink Coke. And I want to write a book, right? That's what you do. You think you have arrived in life, so you want to write a book. And Shubroto is a prolific author. So he said, come. And so I went to Bangalore. He said, you cannot write a book in 3 months. You're welcome to stay. I'll give you food to eat. but you can't write a book in 3 months. It takes 1 year to write a book. So I think, why did you call me then? Is I want to discuss an idea with you. Whatever you're doing with farmers, can you do something similar with rag pickers? So I said, let's start. Let's figure out. So January of 2013, I did my due diligence again, found an organization, volunteered for them, got connected through them to a 55-year-old woman, a waste picker by the name Lakshmi, in an area in Bangalore called Shivaji Nagar. And I started picking garbage with her. And would do that, then select, collect it with at the end of it, sort it out, bail it, send it to a place called KR Market, where there's the informal sector. And that would be my nightlife, because in the day, waste pickers are not allowed on the streets. So I would do that in the night, sleep through noon, get up and write my business plan to take it to the Mindtree board to say that we have the opportunity to create a livelihood platform. And the moment we started saying they're entrepreneurs, life changed. All of a sudden, the previous 20 years of work experience became relevant to me. I said, farmer is the new customer, rag picker is the new customer, they run a business. I know how to consult with people to improve their business. I know how to build tech solutions to improve business. So I'm in the right space. So all of a sudden, as I was started seeing the similarity in the lives of the farmer and the waste picker and being able to correlate it to, product value at supply chain, the idea of India livelihood platform emerged. The only context is there, we are building it for an organization who has one employee and whose annual turnover is $1,000, and not for a company whose annual turnover is $1 billion. So we are literally making a micro enterprise. We are making it, we're reducing the size of the enterprise by a factor of 1 million, from 1 billion to, so we were all used to building softwares and solutions and for $1 billion enterprise. And we got to make it for $1,000 enterprise. I'll take a pause. Once I start speaking, I just start speaking. Sorry. Yeah.
Because from your business to farms and to rag picking to building platforms, and coming to that point, saying in the end, I'm building a infrastructure for $1,000 company. That's the core. That's it. Now you can be $1,000 farmer. You can be $1,000 artisan. You can be $1,000 chai shop. You can be $1,000 anything. So tell us more about how do you wire yourself for such rapid and big pivots? These are not minor pivots.
Yeah.
And tell us about some of the pivots also, so that we
Yeah.
get the context of the pivot itself.
I tell you, first of all, how do I gear myself mentally for the pivots? So I told myself that I'm building something that will start becoming relevant in 30 years. Why 30 years? So we said, look at Apache Foundation. The Apache server first came in 80s. It's about 35-year-old. And today, you can't imagine writing a piece of software without having an open source component from the Apache Foundation. So the first thing I really told myself that what you're trying to do is hairy, it's audacious, it'll take time. So in some sense, that has helped. That has helped in every time a situation has come up. I've managed to look back at the software, at the code base. Am I building the right stuff? Will this code base stand the test of time? And it's very malleable. Right? Code is malleable. If you design it right, you can evolve it. So that has given me the confidence that the work I'm doing is malleable, is amenable to transformation. And if I can be it for long enough and I build a long tail of people in this movement, then it will become another Apache Foundation. So that's the goal. That's the goal of the Commons, the Platform Commons Foundation, is to really become another Apache Foundation, except Apache builds open source software, which can be used by the rich and the poor alike. And in my mind, it's like saying you give a sword to a samurai and you give a sword to a farmer or to a peasant. Well, the peasant stands no chance. So you have to build solutions which are designed to give disproportionate power to the poor. And therefore, we'll talk later maybe about the license and the commons concept, etc. So this whole thing has really given me the mental makeup of not to get exasperated or tired when the next pivoting thing comes. The second big thing that happened, we hit a million beneficiary mark. And everybody, we said, we never thought that there'll be a million people on the platform. And we were operating in 7, 8 languages and all kinds of some 400 social entrepreneurs, social businesses were there on the platform who were using and so on. And that's when we said that maybe we should give the platform to the government. That also forced us to create the platform commons license because we didn't want the government to misuse the platform, sell the farmer data to private companies. We also realized that agriculture being a state subject, if we are wildly successful, we'll have 29 or 30 instances of the platform. And then you will lose network effects. So we decided that these platforms need to talk to each other. Like the country is a federation, the platform needs to be federated. So a lot of those decisions came, and I think that gave us amazing amount of energy and focus when we decided that we are going to give it to the government. It opened the door with the Mindtree management to open source it. It put the challenges to the engineers to make it as a federated model.
And in the whole journey, it will be good to hear from you your thinking around scale, because I know when we jammed together to figure out how to do the Andhra Pradesh pilot, and then the whole discussion around you then going into multiple states beyond, and you know this Ashoka, and you're familiar with this model of control versus scale, and we have talked about it in the past. How did you think about, and that led to the creation of your whole platform commons license, which is a different form of license. But we would love to hear from you. Journey of scale, big pilots, platform common license, bringing a new control architecture. Why?
Sure. So journey of scale has been, I think, the most interesting of them all, and also the most conflicting in my own mind. In my first discussion with Shubhratu, who's been my mentor for a very long time, he says, knowing you, Prashant, if I ask you to build a car, not only will you build the car, you will build the highway and the petrol station and the rest and everything. And I said, yes, that's exactly the job. If you just build the car, my customer, the farmer, doesn't know how to drive the car. I got to build all the support structure around them. So if you just build a good business model for the farmer, for a particular crop or a particular value chain for a particular commodity, it's meaningless. Those business models exist. You go to NABARD site and there'll be the model bankable project. They exist. How to do the ideal dairy farm, how to do the ideal atta company, and all of that exists. It's useless unless you do. But that's very, very hard work. That's very hard work. It's slow work. And it doesn't give you results off the bat, because if you are building infrastructure before building the car, people will say, why is the car not operating? Why are you just building the roads? The second part, grappling with scale, has been about you gotta get into the skin of every use case. So often people say that if a farmer has to earn $5,000, what will happen to India's GDP? India's GDP will be $15 trillion at that scale. If 65% of the people, their turnover becomes fivefold, right? The question that comes is that to whose benefit is this infrastructure going to be? So tomorrow, if the platform is widely successful, and if you have all the farmers of India putting all their inventory on the platform, what prevents corporate houses from hijacking that information? So unless you have rules built in the platform which will not allow monopolistic behavior. So in fact, one of the very first versions we built a license for, we said, because with software, open source software it's like a sword. It has no intent. It's a tool. So the intent has to be built into the license. So one of the very first terms we wrote is that X percent, that any organization or their sister concerns collectively can only buy less than X% of a commodity from the market, which is exactly what the Essential Commodity Security Act in its past avatar was. You could, because other than that, if you don't do that, you will allow hoarding to happen. And the thing with technology is that whatever it does very efficiently. So if it does good, it'll now do it efficiently. If it does bad, it'll do it efficiently. So you started writing your values, so data, right? So when you look at today's large successful programs, they use data. Their biggest power is data, and not raw data, aggregate data. So a Facebook will very sweetly tell you your raw data is your property, but it doesn't. But aggregate data is Facebook's property. All analytics, all anonymized data, all analytical data, trends, everything, the Facebook uses to run its business. So we said, what can we not then have a license where the user is the owner of raw data and a shareholder of the aggregate data, and 100% of the aggregate data belongs to 100% of the user base. A third thing, for example, is value chains. Right? So we have in our license given the right to the user community to determine value chain pricing. It's very specific. So by doing so, you are building to put your values, the reason we are doing this, and what we think will create success, what we think will not create success. You can put those things into software, which traditionally did not differentiate between values or the absence of them. So that's why we felt it's important to create a license. For example, let's say Sanjay runs a e-commerce company and sells artisanal goods. And Sanjay goes and onboards 200 artisan companies or artisan SHGs and 20 buyers. He will say they're my property. Why should they have an independent existence on the platform and discover each other? And then we'll have to tell Sanjay, sorry, Sanjay, you are using the wrong platform. Then go do Shopify, do your own stuff, or etc. Because unlike an Uber and a Facebook and a this and a that who can spend a lot of money to build traffic on the platform, the poor cannot. So the only way we can build traffic on the platform is where we see everybody's traffic as collective common traffic. It's common traffic. If I'm a volunteer, irrespective of who onboarded me, I should be able to reach out and explore volunteering opportunities with anybody else in the platform. If I'm a farmer, irrespective of which NGO onboarded me, I should have the same rights to explore opportunity across. Now, this is a very touchy topic. And it's true, somebody is spending their own time and money. And our only argument to them is that you are anyway spending philanthropic money to come on the platform. So don't say that, this is my buyer or my supplier or my artisan. This is somebody has donated money for you to do that. So, and in other case, the other argument, of course, is that when you share, you get back, which people understand. But it's a very touchy topic, and we open it. So every day you end up writing some clause, some variant without losing the essence of it. But the reason we decided to write a license like that is, how do you embody your value system? The reason we are doing what we are doing, how do you take those values and put it in something dead and inanimate like a software? So if you could write a digital constitution for this federation of platforms, then it is truly open because it's protected by the constitution. And otherwise, if you make it free without those controls, then it'll be like, yet any tool, anybody can use it for any purpose.